Today we're talking about Word of Thoth. What the hell is Word of Thoth? Some of you may know this, some of you may not know this, but the more important thing is that you should know it. Word of Thoth was very recently updated by Flareb00t for Season 4 with quite a few changes, quite a few new things in it. Before we get into these changes, let's quickly talk about what Word of Thoth is. In its essence, it's probably the biggest written summary of information surrounding Smite, the objectives in the game and so on that you can find. It is a lot of number stuff, a lot of calculations that you can do, as well as a lot of additional information on how certain effects, etc. interact. And I have been using it for quite a while now. I've mentioned it in previous videos already, so some of you may remember it from that or know it from other ways, sources. So I think this is a very, very good resource to get additional information from. Flareb00t, the creator, has very thoroughly tested everything that's in there. We have some other people helping him with that as well, obviously. And it's a very nice write-up. It's very easy to read, it's very simple to understand. It's not too complex for the most part. There are some slightly more complex numbers things, but in the end it's something where you can just fill in the blanks and you don't really have to do the calculations yourself if you don't want to. The overall information and understanding of the game that you can get out of this resource, though, is amazing, and I can highly recommend anyone to read it. It's not that long of a read as well. Now, let's talk about what has changed in Word of Thoth in Season 4, and then give you a bit more of an overview of the content of it in itself. The first change was the addition of a formula for XP to level, just to have an idea of what you need in order to reach a certain level in the game. The second change was the kill assist bounty for XP and gold being updated for specific scenarios. The third point is a more detailed information on towers as opposed to the older versions of Word of Thoth. The fourth point is the addition of Apophis, obviously a new character in the game, a new boss in the game that wasn't there before. Then there is a detailed explanation of attack speed lows. There is information on healing reduction with the new updated info that came out on that, as well as new information on slows. There is a comprehensive guide on how damage mitigation works, which is more important, that Sunder has been introduced, or is rather changed in a way that is actually being used. And there are updated numbers for the jungle camps, since the beta bug that existed for them is now removed with the double scaling. So something that is basically changed with Season 4. To give you a bit more of a reason as to why you should read this, I will go through the main points of Word of Thoth and what they include and which information is behind that, to just not sum up the information, but maybe give you an idea of why you would look into a specific topic more in the write-up. First one is the base mechanics. The base mechanics, the first topic is protections, damage reduction and penetration, both through abilities and items. And I think this is already a very important topic. I get questions about this on a very regular basis. There are many people who don't understand the difference between Titan's Bane and Executioner yet, or how penetration effects interact in general. Just on a very recent video I had to notice that once again. So something that is definitely worth reading into, though for this particular topic I will make a summarizing video down the road where I cover that as best as possible as well. Then there is the topic of effective health, EHP, something that I often mention in combination with any sort of a warrior build, any sort of guardian build when it comes to which items should be preferred. Then there's a section on lifesteal, which also addresses stuff like the AoE magical effect and the reduction that applies through that. Something that is very interesting, especially since we had this little bug on the PTS where this stuff would apply for melees as well. Then we have a section on attack speed, something that I think is very interesting because many people are not aware of how exactly attack speed increases function in regards to different hunters, that they're basically not all the same, something that gets explained in detail there. Then we have healing increase and healing reduction and how they interact, some interesting stuff with hell in that section. Then we have movement speed, diminishing returns on that and on slows as well. And we have movement speed penalties, so this overall segment is also very interesting in order to find out how much movement speed you should really build, for example. In regards to the penalties, it's probably interesting that many people might not be aware of how many different movement penalties exist in Smite. If I was to ask, I think most people would answer 3. Basically, basic attack, backpedal, and side strafing. if they could get to those 3. But it's actually 4, because there's a different penalty for melee and ranged, and I know that a lot of people are not aware of that. So something that's also very interesting to look into. Then there is crowd control and diminishing returns on that. This, for example, explains just how good this stuff is on Tyr, because it's basically better on him than on anyone else. But at the same time, why the crowd control on him doesn't go down as much as you would think in certain scenarios if you apply the first formula, which is really interesting. Then there is the topic of a kill and assist bounty, which explains how the kill bounty differs between different modes as well, different game modes. And then there is what I mentioned, the new formula for XP to level. In the structures and minions section, there is obviously towers, and also how you can actually apply effects to towers, item effects to towers that you otherwise should not be able to apply. Phoenixes, Clash Phoenixes, Titans, and in this particular topic also the protections of those and the power that they gain through towers and Phoenixes, and the minions. In the jungle section, Flareb00t goes over the XP camps, the buff camps, the jungle bosses, the bull demon, and now also Apophis. So that's the old summary of what you will find in Word of Thoth. I think it's very much worth checking out for many of these things. There are many things you can learn from it, or look up later if you need to know something specific that you hadn't thought of before. You will find a lot of that info there, and I can highly recommend it. The script linked to the document is linked down below in the description. There is also a link to Flareb00t's Twitter if you want to hear more smart stuff. I can highly recommend that as well. It's a very enjoyable Twitter. With that, thank you guys for watching. I hope this was, well, in itself probably not that insightful, because the insight is what you're gonna get if you go to Word of Thoth. But I hope it was interesting nonetheless. If you enjoyed this, feel free to click that sub button and maybe the bell. It really helps me out. See you for the next one tomorrow. SLOTH, out.